you said you've got to fight the evil that you see and build an army, not such a large army, but you still have to fight. And I guess the question that comes up to me is that to fight, I need resources. The way I get resources is by investing. And it's the more I look into it, the more I see that there's the obvious company businesses not to invest in, say, for example, those that promote cruelty to animals. But it seems that there's no business that doesn't involve some destruction. Even something like, I don't know, a paint producer has factories that destroys the earth, destroys animals, belches pollution. I guess it seems that there's no way I can get the resources to fight the battle that seems to be the right battle without destroying something in some way.
You see, you'll have to take the analogy of the ego itself. How do you ever get someone to move on the path of liberation? You convince him to act against himself, right? Similarly, resources exist in the world. They are owned by people. It's just that those resources have been accumulated using wasteful, even vicious means. But now those resources, those assets, they do exist. So you have to use those resources in a way that destroys the very method, the very source, the intention from where they came. So there are, let's say, factory owners who have accumulated resources by destroying the planet. Why can't you utilize their resources? What do you think? Everybody who comes here and donates is donating money begotten from purely spiritual means? Tell me. So you get the idea. The thing is there. You have to convince the owner of the thing to use it in the right direction. And you're doing a favor to the owner of this thing, because that's also what he deeply wants. That's his latent demand or need. And if that latent demand or need does not exist, then it is impossible to save the planet or animals. That's the one thing you have to count on. No? If people don't turn up, I'm helpless. If people don't watch the videos, what do I do? So what do I count on? I count on the fact that even if I am saying something unpleasant, yet there exist people who will not only watch it, but gratefully watch it. Similarly, you must know that if you want resources, There are places from where you will get them with a token of thanks. And that's been happening. I mean, people go and donate to temples. We very well know that a lot of that is black money. We know a lot of that is coming from sources that are nowhere near clean, pure, religious, spiritual. Yet that money is going to religious places. So the problem is not that for a right cause you will not have resources. The problem is what happens to that money when it reaches the temple. Are there managers and spenders capable enough and willing enough to spend the money in the right direction? That should be the thing you must highlight. If you really want resources, you will get them. It's just that you may not have the satisfaction of calling those resources as your own. You would be at best a trustee of those resources. What do you think? People who have led important movements could do that without the aid of resources. Is that possible? So from where did they generate the resources needed to lead the independence movement, for example? Look at the India of 1920s and 30s. Poor country. And yet Mahatma Gandhi was able to mobilize so many people. And for that he must have mobilized resources as well. And he did do that. We even know the names of the important donors. And we know that he used to very strongly ask for contributions from all who would ever visit him. If he would be traveling by train and people would throng to get a glimpse of him, he would be all the time carrying his donation bag or basket, I do not know what, something. And people would be dropping 1 paisa, 2 paisa, 10 paisa, 1 rupee, whatever they could afford. Women, rural women, would come and just donate their little pieces of jewelry. And he would actively ask for it. He would say, I need help, I need your resources, otherwise how do we do the right thing in India? And that was 100 years back. Today people are far more capable and resourceful. So why must you worry where the resources are? They are there. And it's not as if everybody is evil. If you stand for the right thing, people will come out to support you. The only thing is, again I repeat, you will not be able to call those resources as your own. And you will not have the internal pleasure of saying that I did it all by myself. That's a great pleasure that the ego relishes, no? I did it all by myself. That you won't be able to say. You'll have to accept that without the contributions from so many other people, small contributions, large contributions, you could not have succeeded. So you have to factor in the implicit goodness in every person. It is true that people behave in ways that are obviously evil, but also we very well know that at some point we are wonderful beings. We are capable of displaying very, very unpredictable, astonishing acts of generosity, kindness, bravery. We all have that potential, right? And that's the potential that you have to reach out to and awaken. No great thing can be done purely by using your personal resources. How will you manage it? And if you spend your life earning so that you can run a movement all on your own, then where will be the time to run the movement? So you'll have to build a network. That's also what I was referring to yesterday. You'll have to organize. Organize, build a network, build a consensus, awaken people. Propaganda is not a bad word, mind you. Done for the right reasons, it's a wonderful thing. Learn to indulge in propaganda. It's propagation, no? Have a loud voice. Speak to the right people. Tell them the right things. Why must we assume that everybody is out and out evil? Should we assume that? Why must I rather not believe that if I reach out to you with a clean mind, a clean purpose, you will not rebuke me away? Why must I not believe that deep within somewhere everybody wants to do something good? And if they want to do something good, let me give them a channel through which they can involve themselves in goodness. What's the point in being a cynic? If there are forces that push us towards darkness and smallness and self-centeredness, why can't there be forces that push us towards generosity and large-heartedness? Why can't you be at the vanguard of such a force? No? Remember, if you want to do something big, it has to be a people's movement. A people's movement. The ownership has to be distributed and scattered. Maybe you can be almost at the center of it, but you cannot be everything that is there to the movement. It has to have a mass participation, a mass ownership, in fact. People must believe they actively contribute to it. People must believe it is their movement. And if it is their movement, why won't they contribute the resources?
So it sounds like it's not the source of the money as much as the intent behind which it's used for and which it's given for. I guess one question that comes up is, why do we tend towards great evil, but there's also this possibility of great goodness?
No, we don't really tend towards great evil. We participate in it sometimes because we are helpless. Of course, we have to firstly talk about our tendency to slip, and we have to confess that slipping and going down the slope is far easier than going uphill. So, of course, all those things are there. But having said all those things, you also have to see that the individual is often quite helpless in front of the system. So, see, it's like this. You go to a restaurant, right? You buy something to eat. Let's say it costs you rupees 200. No, if you see, parts of those 200 rupees are going to very, very dark places. Do you know that? You didn't want that, but what do? What do you do? I mean, where do... there's so much black money in India, let's say. Some estimates say that black money in India currently is greater than India's complete GDP. Now that's all unaccounted money, right? Black money is simply money on which tax has not been paid, which means it has not gone to the books. If it goes to the books, then it is taxable. It's not gone to the books. So what is happening? You have paid the restaurant owner that amount, and 10 rupees or 20 rupees or 40 rupees from that goes to some person. Let's say the police. Now because of that, the very price of that food item, let's say it's a burger, has gone up by 40 rupees. It should ideally have been just 160 rupees. Why is it priced at 200? Because 40 rupees has to go to some party as black money. So what have you done? By consuming that burger, you have contributed 40 rupees to very, very nefarious kinds of forces. But you didn't want that. You just wanted the burger. And nobody has told you in advance that 40 rupees from this is going to, those places. So that's how the common man inadvertently strengthens the hands of dark forces. We do not want that, but that happens. What do? Even when, let's say, you are paying 20 rupees for parking your car, maybe 8 rupees from that is going to places it should not go to. Did you want that? The fellow who would finally collect those 8 rupees, that 40% of rupees 20, would have not received a single paisa from you had he shown up in body and face. Had he stood in front of you and demanded even rupee 1, you would not have given him. But he lurks somewhere in the dark. He doesn't come out to the front. He just collects his commission, his cut. And that's how our resources keep flowing to places where they hurt us. And that's happening unconsciously. Now, if unconsciously we are supporting, by way of resources, all the dark forces, why can't we consciously support the right forces? We can. And time and again it has been shown that when the common man is shown honesty of purpose, resolve of execution, he does come forward to support and contribute. It's not as if the common man is hell-bent on supporting only wickedness, distortion, corruption. You buy a flat. What do you think you have paid those large number of lakhs for? Where do you think all that money is going? And now ask yourself, how do political parties manage to spend so much in election times? The money that you spent towards your flat, a part of that has gone towards the propaganda budget of some political party. That political party has collected your money without even giving you a receipt. Without even you coming to know. You don't even know that you contributed, let's say, 80 lakhs towards a flat, and 7 lakhs straight away has gone to a political party. You don't even know. That's how they are collecting our money. Now, if they can surreptitiously collect our money, why can't we consciously donate our money towards the right purposes? Or is it so that we prefer being looted? Is it so that we say that you can come and loot me and then I won't object, you can take away my money? But if you will honestly come to me, talk face to face, tell me that you require X amount for set purpose, then I will not cooperate or participate or donate. It's not that way. No, it's not that way.
Maybe I'm cynical, but don't we know in some place that a lot of the money that we give goes to bribes, goes to corruption? We do it openly, so of course we know it happens.
Yes, we know. But
And
what
doesn't
do
that-
you do? See, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You look at the common man, you look at his helplessness. What do you do? You buy anything, you very well know that some part of the money that you are giving will go to the wrong place, to the wrong person. So what will you do? You will not buy anything. Doesn't matter whether I buy a sweatshirt, a pen, an electrical item, anything, doesn't matter. Additionally, how does it help us to count the follies of the common man? Yes, let's finally happily agree that the common man is debauched. How does that help us? Why should we rather not talk of the place where a ray of light is? Why must I keep just cursing the darkness? The common man is debauched, but he also has a willingness to come out of his debauchery. We all have that, no? In some sense, we all are common men. We all are internally corrupt to an extent. But that's only half the story. We also want to live dignified lives. We don't want to live and die a liar. So you have to count on that, and if the love for light inside someone is lying dormant, then it's upon you to awaken it. That's what publicity and propaganda are all about. You have to remind people that they all love honesty, dignity. If people can be conditioned, if they are prone to being influenced, they can also be pulled out of their conditioning, right? Or is conditioning just a one-way street? No? And see, we have no option. If we declare that people are corrupt and want to stay corrupt, then we as well pack our bags and go home. Then what are we in the field for? So you have no option but to rely on people's potential and love towards light. You have to rely on that. We cannot afford to be cynical on this. This very gathering is proof enough, no? We are in the middle of a pandemic. You also know the law and order situation here in this part of the country. We are entering deep winters in India. And yet people are here, and several of them have travelled from very far off places. They have braved the virus, weather, they are spending money. So there is an implicit goodness in people. Look at your own example.
I wasn't using the common man as an example because I've done more damage than I think the common man and people like me. I guess it seems like there's no way out of consuming or destroying with whatever action, like even holding the mic, even wearing the clothes, even driving the car. There's some destruction involved in that.
See, there is some destruction involved in everything. If you see, these are winters, even dogs dig up to stay warm. Have you seen that? No? If you just go about in the streets, you will see dogs digging the earth. Why do you do that? Then they cuddle in. They are creating a little bit of insulated space for themselves. They too want to stay warm. Now, if a dog can construct some kind of a home for itself, why can't human beings do that? So it's not as if everything that you do will go towards destruction of environment. There is a certain space available to us, and that's also what is called as sustainable development. There is a certain degree of consumption you can do without harming the environment. We have talked about it. But you can't do that if you are 8 billion, and you can't do that if each of these 8 billion people consume as much as the average American. So we have said, first of all, this 8 billion needs to be, let's say, 2 billion. I do not exactly know. You'll require somebody with all the data and all the computers to come up with the right kind of models and numbers. It's a modeling exercise fundamentally. So first of all, we cannot have 8 billion people. Secondly, we cannot have these levels of per capita consumption. There is no need to think that even if we are left with just 100 people on the planet, still we would be doing irreversible damage. No, it's not so. What is happening is that the degree of our consumption and our ability to destroy has crossed all limits. But there is a limit inside which we can safely operate, by which I mean we can safely consume. Are you getting it? Now, you see, elephants in jungle, don't they destroy trees? But do you call elephants as threats to ecology? Do you do that? And just watch the behavior of elephants in jungles. What do they do? So there can be an ecologically sustainable way of living. You can have a certain level of consumption without the environment coming under duress.
I guess I understand that in theory, but I also feel that I'm a hypocrite as well. Driving a car just by myself, living in a flat that's larger than what I need, having a few pairs of clothes more than what I really need. I feel that there's some dissonance between that, and I understand the theoretical limit of I can be sustainable, but it seems like I'm
Now it
not
comes to the numbers.
doing that.
Now it comes to the numbers. Probably somewhere you have the belief that anything and everything that you are doing is harming the ecology. That's not so. To the extent I know of the numbers, the biggest damage that we cause to the environment is by procreation. If you have not had kids, you are already absolved of the 90% damage you could have potentially caused. You have a green tick in that box now. Now all that you can consume all your life, if you haven't procreated, is within the 10% domain. So you need not feel that guilty. If there are 100 units of damage you could have potentially done, and if you have not procreated, then those 90 units are safely taken care of. There you have a 0 against your name. That obviously does not mean that now you can go about keeping a private jet and emitting as much carbon as you want and all those things. But now you have no real need to feel guilty about, keeping an extra pair of socks. There is no need to go to that level of details. Right? Equally, if you have had kids, it doesn't matter whether you wear socks or not wear socks, you have done your part of the damage. We made so many people travel to this place. That meant a lot of carbon. Should we feel guilty about that? In the very organization of this event, if seen in isolation, without any sense of perspective, would mean that we have contributed to carbon emissions. Somebody would have flown in, somebody has driven his car, somebody came through train, and all of that means carbon, no? So we are here to destroy the environment in that sense. No, things have to be put in perspective. If we don't become insensible, there is a decent zone within which we can consume without horribly damaging the environment. But today our insanity has taken us far, far beyond that safe zone. Far, far beyond.